instead of feeling some kind of regret, I'm looking at somebody that's feeling relieved, like.
As soon as he got into town, he went to make a phone call or whatever, and he was informed that Taaz Lane had been shot, killed, murdered.
You will never look at Teddy Pendergrass the same ever again after this. Wondering why? Well, it all started with the car accident, but that was only the beginning. Things got even more complicated when people found out he was with a transgender woman during the crash.
And I noticed he was struggling with the wheel. And all of a sudden, I heard this great big bang. Next thing I know, the press was there, and I got into the ambulance with him, and I helped him as much as I could.
Just like that, Teddy's sex symbol image started unraveling, especially when combined with the fact that the accident paralyzed him from the chest down. But even before all of that, he was already involved in another heavy controversy, with accusations that he was the one that hired someone to kill his former manager and partner, Taaz. In fact, some even suspect that his accident was planned partly because of that. Could that really be true? And did he really have something to do with the trans woman in his car that night? Let's dive in. Teddy Pendergrass was known for his deep, smooth voice. Many women loved him because he sang with passion and had a lot of charm. People called him the chocolate teddy bear because he was handsome, sweet, and sexy at the same time. Teddy had a strong fan base, especially among women. But the accident that happened on March 18, 1982 in Philadelphia changed his life forever. Teddy was driving his Rolls-Royce on a road called Lincoln Drive. This road was known for being dangerous with lots of sharp turns. That night, his car crashed into a tree. The front of the car was completely wrecked. Teddy was stuck inside the car for about 45 minutes before rescue workers could get him out. When they finally did, they realized how serious the injury was. He could not move anything below his chest. It was a heartbreaking moment for his fans and everyone who loved him. People started wondering why the accident happened. Some thought maybe it was because of a problem with the car. Others said it might have been bad luck or even someone trying to hurt him. There was no clear answer, but what made things worse was the fact that Teddy wasn't alone in the car that night. A woman named Tenika was sitting in the passenger seat. She had a history as a nightclub performer and used to be a sex worker. Later, people found out that Tenika was a transgender woman, which caused a big shock in the media and among fans.
I never really got a chance to tell my side of things, and it was important to me.
That evening, Teddy had been at a club called Club Elan. He was there with his friend, named IETG. While they were enjoying their night, Tenika came over to speak with Teddy. He had seen her before in the 1970s, but didn't remember her very well. What he didn't know was that Tenika had transitioned into a woman back in 1977. She used to be known as John Watson. That night, Teddy decided to give IET a ride home. Then, he told Tenika he would take her back to the club afterward. He invited her to ride along with him in his Rolls-Royce.
And he called me over to his car, and it was a Rolls-Royce. I thought he was a pimp because I wasn't used to people really having Rolls-Royces. So that was the first time, and I ran from him.
Tenika later said that she was surprised to see someone driving a Rolls-Royce. She thought Teddy might have been a pimp because it was rare to see someone with a car that expensive. After dropping IET off, Teddy and Tenika headed back toward downtown Philadelphia. As they drove down Lincoln Drive, the car's brakes failed. Teddy lost control and slammed into a tree. The crash was so bad that it left Teddy unable to walk for the rest of his life.
And I noticed he was struggling with the wheel. And all of a sudden, I heard this great big bang. Next thing I know, the press was there, and I got into the ambulance with him, and I helped him as much as I could.
As news of the accident spread, the media became more focused on who was with Teddy than on his health. People cared more about the drama than the fact that he was seriously hurt. Reporters wanted to know about his relationship with Tenika. Was he dating her? Did he know she was transgender? These kinds of questions filled newspapers and TV shows. Teddy was going through a very hard time, but the press made it worse. They treated his pain like gossip. Years later, in 2019, Tenika appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show. She talked about what happened the night of the crash. Her story shocked people, but not everyone believed her. Some said her story didn't make sense. Others believed her only because she was on a big TV show. Some critics even said that the Pendergrass family helped arrange her appearance on the show to clear up old rumors. They wanted to protect Teddy's name, especially from people who kept bringing up the same old questions. When people found out that Tenika was transgender, rumors started flying. Many began to wonder about Teddy's sexuality. This was strange because Teddy had always been seen as a ladies' man.
Teddy was a big star. I know my family loved him. His music was always playing. You couldn't get any bigger than he was. And he was a very handsome man, I must say. He was very handsome.
He had a lot of female fans and dated many women. Still, the rumors wouldn't go away. They made things even harder for Teddy. He was already dealing with the pain of not being able to walk again. But now, he also had to face embarrassing questions from the public. Teddy had a reputation for being a flirt and loving women. He had 3 children with 2 different women, all born in 1974. His wife, Karen, and other girlfriends knew that Teddy often had affairs while on tour. Teddy once said in an interview that he didn't like women who tried to control him. He said he needed someone who understood that he was a traveling musician. If a woman couldn't handle that, he didn't want to be with her. This showed that he was very open about his lifestyle. After the 1982 crash, Teddy was involved in 2 more car accidents. This made people think something strange was going on. Some even wondered if someone was trying to hurt him on purpose. Each time he had an accident, the media paid close attention. The stories made it seem like Teddy was surrounded by mystery and trouble. It became hard for him to live a normal life because people kept talking about these accidents. As if that wasn't enough, another dark cloud hung over his head. Teddy's former manager, Taaz Lang, died in a very strange and violent way. Teddy used to sing with a group called Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. They were pretty popular, but after a while, the group started changing. It looked like they wanted to have 2 main singers instead of just one. Teddy really believed he should be one of them, but there was something else bothering him too. He felt like he was not being paid fairly. He thought he was bringing a lot to the group, his voice, his energy, and his stage presence, but his paycheck didn't match what he was giving. And Teddy was not the type to settle for less. So he made a big decision. He left the group. He wanted more, and he knew he had to do it on his own.
Started out as the lead singer for Melvin and the Blue Notes, but Teddy Pendergrass walked out on the group when it was at its peak to go solo, and his star has been rising ever since.
After leaving the group, Teddy met a woman named Tasmaiya Melanie Lane, also called Taaz. She was more than just pretty. She was smart, strong, and well-connected in the music world. At that time, Teddy needed someone like her. He didn't have much money, and his career was just starting to move again. Taaz, on the other hand, had a lot going for her. Her mother owned a beauty salon where many famous people came in. People like Dionne Warwick, Nancy Wilson, and Lola Falana. These were big names in music and entertainment. Taaz helped manage the salon and brought in even more famous clients. Teddy saw this and knew she could help him. He didn't just want to date her. He wanted her to believe in him, to support him, and to be part of his journey.
One of the most important relationships in his life is how he had put it to me.
Teddy worked hard to impress her. He wanted her attention and her trust. After a while, they started dating. Things moved fast. Soon, Teddy was living in Taaz's house, but he didn't stop there. He asked her to be his manager. He also asked her to help pay for his solo career. He wanted to start something new, his own business, his own music, and she said yes.
I knew Taz pretty good, you know. She had a beauty shop, like, you know, talkative, make it happen kind of lady, you know what I mean?
Isn't that one of the shops that we rehearsed at in the basement?
One of the shops we rehearsed in, yeah. She was a good...
Taz believed in him. She even gave him $15,000 to start his own music company called Teddy Bear Productions. That was a lot of money back then. She also helped write up a contract to make it all official.
She was a good girl, but she was firm. She was very firm.
Oh, extremely.
The contract said that Taz would manage Teddy's music. She would get 10% of the money from his first album. She would also be vice president of his company and own a small part of it. Teddy thought it was a fair deal. He trusted her. But later, he found out he didn't read the contract carefully. It turned out that she would get 10% not just from his first album, but from every album after that. And she would also get money from any other business deals he did in the future. Teddy was shocked when he realized this. He felt trapped. He didn't know what to do. He tried to get out of the contract, but Taz said no. She wouldn't change anything.
I was not very happy after I realized what I had done. I had given her a percentage of any renewals of my contract. That was stupid on my part.
Teddy became very upset. He didn't want to give away so much of his future earnings. He started telling people how unfair the contract was. He was angry, and it showed. Then came the night that changed everything. Teddy happened to be out of town that night.
Taz saw us off. It was like on a Thursday evening.
And Teddy had rode with us that time. So strange, but he was on the bus with us.
Taz was with JoJo Times, who worked as Teddy's stage manager. JoJo drove Taz home. When they arrived, Taz got out of the car. As she walked toward her house, JoJo went to the trunk. Suddenly, a man jumped out from the bushes and shot Taz in the chest. It happened so fast. She didn't even get the chance to scream or run. She died right there. She was only 31 years old.
As soon as he got into town, he went to make a phone call or whatever, and he was informed that Taz Lane had been shot, killed, murdered.
Taz had given so much to Teddy's career. She helped start his company, gave him money, and used her connections to open doors for him. But she never got to see him succeed. She died just 2 months before his first album came out. Her death shocked the whole city. Police started investigating right away. Everyone wanted to know who would do something so terrible. Just 5 days later, her family had her funeral. Jesse Jackson gave the eulogy, and Teddy sang at the service. But not everyone was happy to see him there. Some people looked at Teddy with suspicion. They remembered the problems he had with Taz over the contract. They thought it was strange that she died just when he wanted out of that deal. Some even believed he might have had something to do with it. Teddy's road manager, Henry Evans, said something didn't feel right. He said Teddy didn't look sad. He looked relieved. And if Taz was the love of his life, why did he move on so quickly? He didn't act like someone who just lost the woman who helped build his career.
Instead of feeling some kind of regret, I'm looking at somebody that's feeling relieved. Like,
Most people didn't believe Teddy pulled the trigger himself, but they thought maybe he made a phone call. Maybe he asked someone else to take care of it. Some dangerous people around Teddy didn't like how much power Taz had. They wanted things to go back to how they were before. They missed the parties, the women, the drugs. Taz had put a stop to all of that. She ran things like a business, and not everyone liked that. She made rules, and those rules didn't sit well with some of Teddy's friends. After Taz died, everything changed. Teddy started partying again. The money from the company Taz helped build was now being used for wild nights, drinking, drugs, and women. He was finally free from the contract. He now had full control over his music and business. And he went on to become very successful. His name grew bigger, and his music reached more people. But some people couldn't forget what happened. They whispered that maybe this was all too convenient. Taaz was gone, and suddenly, everything Teddy wanted was his.
Teddy was hooked up with a friend of mine. He was the killer.
Years later, the terrible car accident happened. He became paralyzed and had to use a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Some people said it was just a tragic accident, but others believed it was karma, that maybe the bad things he did had come back around. Some still think he had something to do with Taaz's death, even if there was no proof. They say maybe the accident was a way of paying for what happened to her. Back to the accident. The crash left him paralyzed from the chest down. He could no longer walk or move his legs. His body would never be the same again. This ended his career as a performer. He could not tour anymore, could not dance, and could not move like before. The accident changed his whole life. What hurt even more was how his image changed. The man who once stood strong on stage now had to live in a wheelchair. It was hard for him to accept. After the crash, Teddy went through a very painful time, not just physically, but also in his heart and mind. He was deeply sad. He did not want to see anyone. He stayed away from the public for years. He went from being a big star, full of energy, to someone who needed help to do simple things. This hit him hard. He felt hopeless. At one point, he even thought about ending his life. He said in interviews later that he had very dark thoughts. He didn't know how to live with this new body. It was not easy for someone who was once full of pride and power to feel so weak and stuck. His depression was deep, and it took a long time for him to start feeling better. After the accident, some people started talking. They said maybe the crash was not just an accident. Some thought someone may have tried to hurt him. They pointed to problems with the brakes in his car. There were whispers that the brakes might have been messed with on purpose. Some even said it could have been a setup. There were many rumors, but nothing was ever proved. The police never found real evidence that someone had done it on purpose. But still, people kept talking. The idea that it might have been more than just bad luck became a mystery that was never solved. These rumors made the story even more painful and confusing for Teddy and his family. As if the crash was not enough, the media made things worse. Instead of showing kindness or support, the newspapers and TV shows focused on gossip. They talked about the woman in the car with him, Tenika. They said mean things and asked rude questions about Teddy's private life. Some even questioned his sexuality. The media cared more about selling stories than about his pain. They made him look like a man with secrets, instead of a man who had survived a terrible accident. This made his healing even harder. He not only had to deal with his new body, but also with people judging him unfairly. It was very hard for him and his loved ones. Now, I earlier mentioned that Teddy was part of Harold and the Blue Note. He started of being a drummer. Teddy had been part of another R&B group called the Cadillacs. When John Atkins left the group later that year, Teddy became the lead singer. Teddy Pendergrass and his group released their first single under a new label called I Miss You, as mentioned earlier.
Ever since you went away, I ain't been doing nothing but...
The song did well, but it was their next hit, If You Don't Know Me By Now. That made them famous. Teddy's success brought him fame, money, and the kind of lifestyle he had always dreamed of. One of the group's other members, Charles Mint, remembered how important Teddy was. If there wasn't no Teddy, there wouldn't have been any Blue Notes, Mint said. He also mentioned how Teddy's work helped the big names in the music industry, like Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff.
Well, I think the message we was trying to get across, we made a record with MFSB.
Love is the message.
Love is the message.
Make it to the top. However, things didn't stay perfect for Teddy. Despite his big role in the group's rise to success, he started to feel like he wasn't being treated fairly. Teddy was frustrated because he felt like Harold Melvin, the leader of the group, was taking too much control and not doing enough to help the group. Teddy was upset because Harold's behavior was making things difficult for the band. Harold wasn't helping with performances and was only focused on himself.
I feel there's more that I can give. There's more that I need to do. I can do this differently.
One example of this was when the group played at the Playboy Club in Los Angeles. There was a disagreement between Harold and the club managers, which led to the group having to pay for their own stay while Harold lived comfortably. The rest of the band members were struggling to make ends meet while Harold was enjoying himself with his wealthy friends. When they asked Teddy to speak to Harold about helping them out financially, he saw something that made him even angrier. He went to Harold's room and saw him with a pile of cash, laughing and spending money while the rest of the band was in a tough spot. After that night, Teddy decided he had enough. He was not going to tolerate the exploitation any longer and made the decision to quit the group. News of Teddy Pendergrass's departure from Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes spread, causing the group's popularity to wane and leading to other members exiting to join Teddy. Despite threats of bodily harm from Harold Melvin, Teddy remained steadfast in his pursuit of a solo career.
And this doesn't make me happy anymore, the situation. So I left to hopefully do it on my own.
Also, Teddy faced criticism of his romantic image and public persona. Some people thought he focused too much on being a heartthrob for women. They said he was trying too hard to please female fans and forgot to show his full talent. He was known for doing ladies-only concerts where only women were allowed to attend. During these shows, he dressed in stylish clothes, looked handsome, and sang in a way that felt very personal. Women would scream, cheer, and feel like Teddy was singing just for them. While many female fans enjoyed this, some people said it made his music feel one-sided. They thought he wasn't showing other sides of his music or emotions. They wanted to see more variety in his work. Some critics believed Teddy was putting too much focus on his image instead of the music itself. They said he was more worried about looking smooth and romantic than showing deep feelings in his songs. People started to say he was using his charm to sell albums and tickets, rather than being true to the heart of the music. It looked like he was trying to be a product that people could buy, not just a singer with real stories to tell. Critics believe that if Teddy stepped away from this image and tried other music styles, he could have touched even more people. He had a strong and emotional voice, but many thought he wasn't using it to its full power. They felt he stayed in the same box of romantic songs, and that kept him from growing as an artist. There were also rumors after his car accident. Some people started talking about alcohol being involved. Even though the police later said that alcohol was not the cause, the rumors had already spread. This hurt Teddy's public image. People began to think he was living a wild and careless life. These kinds of stories made some people judge him unfairly. Even though the truth was different, the damage to his image had already been done in the public eye.
Teddy Pendergrass, the soulful singer who became an inspirational figure after being paralyzed in a car accident, has died at 59 following a battle with colon cancer.
On June 5, 2009, Teddy Pendergrass had surgery for colon cancer. The surgery went well, and doctors said it was successful. After the surgery, he went home to rest and get better. His wife, Joan, stayed by his side to help him during his recovery. Teddy tried to stay strong, but a few weeks later, he started having problems with his breathing. He had to go back to the hospital because he was very sick. The doctors did all they could, but his condition slowly got worse over time. Teddy stayed in the hospital for many months. After 7 long months of fighting, he passed away on January 13, 2010. He died from respiratory failure. His wife Joan was with him when he died at Bryn Mawr Hospital in Pennsylvania. Teddy was only 59 years old. After his death, his body was buried at West Laurel Hill Cemetery in Bala Cynwyd, Pennsylvania. Many people were sad to lose him because his music touched so many hearts.